there. I am Andrew.
I am Ashton.
And I'm Sean.
We are the Night Scholars, exploring the mystifying world of cryptids, ghosts, ghouls, and all things supernatural. Today, we're talking about everyone's favorite Christmas kitty, the Yule Cat.
You all know the Yule Cat. And that cat was huge indeed. People didn't know where he came from or where he went. He opened his glaring eyes wide, the two of them glowing bright. It took a really brave man to look straight into them. His whiskers sharp as bristles, his back arched up high, and the claws of his hairy paws were a terrible sight. He gave a wave of his strong tail. He jumped and he clawed and he hissed. Sometimes up in the valley, sometimes down by the shore, he roamed at large, hungry and evil, in the freezing Yule snow. In every home, people shuddered at his name. If one heard a pitiful meow, something evil would happen soon. Everybody knew he hunted men, but didn't care for mice. He picked on the very poor that no new garments got, for Yule, who toiled and lived in dire need. From them he took in one fell swoop their whole Yule dinner, always eating it himself if he possibly could. Hence it was that the women at their spinning wheels sat, spinning a colorful thread for a frock or a little sock, because you mustn't let the cat get hold of the little children. They had to get something new to wear from the grown-ups each year. And when the lights came on Yule Eve, and the cat peered in, the little children stood rosy and proud, all dressed up in their new clothes. Some had gotten an apron, and some had gotten shoes. For something that was needed, that was all it took. For all who got something new to wear stayed out of that pussy cat's grasp. He then gave an awful hiss, but went on his way. Whether he still exists, I do not know, but his visit would be in vain if next time everybody got something new to wear. Now you might be thinking of helping where help is needed most. Perhaps you'll find some children that have nothing at all. Perhaps searching for those that live in a lightless world will give you a happy day and a merry, merry Yule. And that was a poem about our topic of the day, the Yule Cat. How are you doing today, guys?
Pretty good poem.
I'm doing alright. That just sounds like a cat doing cat things.
Indeed. That was
Okay.
written back in 1932 by Johannes Yerkotlum, if I am pronouncing that correctly, which I know that I am not.
Hey, you gave it your best shot. Uh, but honestly, Andrew's not wrong. If a cat was that large, it would absolutely just do that to us. So why not?
Oh, it would. I mean, so right now, my situation is that I have four cats, and one of them needs kitten food because it's only 2 months old.
Ah.
And he lets one of the older cats eat its food all of the time. And quite frankly, I think that that's what the Yule Cat's doing. It's just like, well, why would I eat any of this garbage that I can find out in the wild when I can just go gobble up food from houses with bad children?
No, not
The fact that you're
necessarily
so
bad children. It's poor children.
yeah.
Yes, and poor children are bad children.
Oh, so we hate the poor on this podcast, is what you're saying.
No, I mean, if you really want to get into it, most crimes are, committed because of desperation. So, I mean, technically, you can make that link. I just don't think that's the link you want to make.
Fair enough. Hey, you know what's funny, Andrew?
What?
She keeps claiming that cat is actually a cat.
No, that is which one? Waluigi?
Yeah, Waluigi. She keeps claiming Waluigi's a cat.
I don't know. He's got some.
Look, just because I don't see it eat food and because it stares at me and Will and I hear weird voices and we keep thinking that it's one another, but it doesn't quite sound right. It's a cat.
I mean,
It's
There is
not the Yule
absolutely
Cat.
nothing skinwalker behavior going on here.
I mean, if my cat was a skinwalker, I'd probably try to convince myself it was just a cat too. Because on the, if it's not, then you got a problem you have to deal with. If you just pretend the problem isn't there, it kind of goes away, right? You're not thinking
Yeah,
about
I
it.
mean, he broke one of my glass bowls this morning, but he's a sweetheart.
Oh, my cat's broken so many dishes.
My cat has never broken any dishes.
My cat has destroyed 3 keyboards and a graphics card.
Impressive. Like, he knows what the expensive stuff is.
That is a very impressive cat.
She sure does. Yeah, coughed a hairball up right into my computer. Luckily, the motherboard and processor and everything else was fine, but it bricked that GTX 1080 I had. So I got an upgrade. Not one I wanted, but I I upgraded it.
See, Yule Cat was doing you a favor by breaking your expensive stuff.
Yeah, I had just bought that. I had that graphics card for like 2 weeks, and then I had to upgrade to a 3060, which is like, it cost me $300. It wasn't too bad, but
Oh, you didn't get
Just
your
like,
money back?
no, I bought that off of someone used, my GTX 1080.
Ah,
Oh yeah.
see, like, your cat did you a favor, just like Yule Cat's doing the families that can't afford to buy their kids new socks a favor and just got rid of the problem.
yeah.
Damn, I didn't think about it
So,
like that.
yeah, like it'll save the
Um,
parents money. If you don't have to buy socks for children, if the
Mm,
children are no longer there.
I mean, I guess they can't suffer if they've been eaten.
yeah, that's actually part of like what they predict might have been part of like the legend of the Yule Cat is that it was kind of more of a lesson of if you can't afford like newer socks that had that weren't full of like holes or anything and you were able to afford to keep yourself warm through the winter, then you would be fine because the Yule Cat is an Icelandic cat, and I assume that the winters are not polite. And so it was a very real reality that people would die of being frozen to death.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the winters in a place called Iceland would not be friendly. But then again,
Well, if you go
the
back
winter.
to the history thing, it's kind of funny the way they did it. They actually named it Iceland because I guess they didn't want other colonies trying to move in there.
Correct.
Kind of the reason they called Greenland its name, even though Greenland is like a hellish frozen over place to live.
Yes.
Like Canada.
They're like, please
Basically,
buy
it's
our
right. Yeah, it's up
green
there by
luscious
Canada.
land.
If I have the history right on that, I remember I watched a YouTube little
You do, but Iceland
documentary on
still
it.
has like all of their like nice like caves and every like ice caves
Yeah,
and like all of that too. So it's not like it's completely green and lush like
yeah. It's not like
what I
you're
remember hearing too.
out in California or down in Florida or whatever. But
Indeed. Although it might actually be cold in Florida right now because it's cold in Alabama.
yeah,
Not cold in Texas.
that's where all my exes live.
I think I only have one ex who lives here.
I've never met anybody in Texas.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that your one ex?
What? Sean?
By the way, Andrew is single if he wants to become his next ex and you happen to live in Texas.
No, I don't. I live on the opposite side of the country. I live in West Virginia,
Look, you
but
can't be a beggar man.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna give of Texas the same amount of stars it has on its flag.
Was it one? The Lone Star?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, they got a lot of good westerns about there.
That has nothing to do with the Yule Cat, though. I don't think the Yule Cat has ever come to Texas.
Why would it want to? Sorry.
Oh no, you got a point.
I'm not sorry.
Maybe he just wants some donuts or kolaches.
I don't even.
Kolaches.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
Well,
Oh,
technically, it's not actually a kolache. A kolache is
fruit.
whatever. Somebody who lives in Texas can correct me in the comments, but it's actually like a Cuba sink or something like that. But
I thought it was a
anyways,
Cobalt.
what Texans call kolaches is a it's basically a pig in the blanket,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
completely wrapped in bread and it's bigger
And fluffy.
and it's amazing.
Okay. So
Whereas an actual kolache is bread with fruit and
It's
no
like a
meat.
fruit.
that sounds pretty good. I like that.
It's like a it's like a pastry with. It's similar to a Danish almost. Is what an actual
Oh god,
kolache
dude,
is.
berry and cheese danishes are my weakness. Fucking love those things.
Y'all mentioned that you had never heard of the Yule Cat before I chose it.
Correct.
Yeah, no, that was the first time I ever heard of it.
Oh, it only took us 5 episodes before we got to the mystery host. That's what. But only reason I know about it is from the Netflix movie Christmas Chronicles 2, where it makes a feature and
Oh,
is
What does it
hilarious.
do in Christmas Chronicles too?
It irritates the crap out of Santa. It chases him around the North Pole, uh, and is just a devious little cat.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's actually like depictions of like the origin of Yule Cat where Saint Nicholas would walk around with a uh alleged like demon in the form of a black cat on a leash.
That is fantastic.
So
yeah.
I think that they actually might be mortal enemies. It's
Yeah,
like
he was not a fan of it in the movie.
yeah, I think it's
He was
supposed to be
definitely
kind of like that region's area or version of Krampus
Yeah,
is the Yule
I've
Cat,
kind of read that. Yeah.
which is
based
kind
on
of
what I've
fitting
read.
that we're doing it.
Yeah, I think uh, listening to the poem you read, I think a lot of what this thing is about is trying to teach about charity, right?
Yep. Hmm.
Especially in the harsh cold of the winter, like you see people who don't have enough clothes, right? Like don't have a good winter coat. Like you should help them. I mean that's what I guess kind of the message of it is. Make sure people can stay warm in the winter time.
Indeed. Because I know I read the poem, but we haven't actually talked about Yule Cat and what it is. Do either of you want to talk about what Yule Cat is before we get too far off and just talking around it, but not actually talking about it?
Um, Most of what I could find is similar to what Andrew said, and it is just a giant cat. Now, I could never get quite an accurate description of what they mean by giant, but I'm assuming taller than a human since it tends to eat children.
It's taller than pine trees.
Taller than pine trees. Okay. Yeah, that one was weirdly difficult to hunt down. But there was a couple times where I saw that it didn't eat the children; it just ate the food. That one was not as common as it ate the children and the food.
Yeah. So what the Yule Cat is basically on Yule Eve, this giant cat that roams around and looks through the windows of all of the houses, and he looks under the Christmas tree or holiday tree and looks to see if there are new clothes for the children, and if there are, it passes on, and if there are not, then he will eat the meal of the child, and then he will eat the child itself. Or
That's
as
just
Sean said,
mean.
sometimes it just eats the meal. It is mean.
Like you're gonna eat my food, then eat instead of just eating me, then eating my food. I have to watch you eat my meal, so I die hungry.
It brings in a sense of Christmas terror.
That is fair. That is fair.
Because what better way to celebrate Christmas than to just watch knowing that you're going to be the next victim?
I mean, you could try running, when it's taller than pine trees.
Yeah, there's
Not
really
what
no
my
running. However, you could probably hide under something that it couldn't get under, except for the fact that cats can just get into any spaces.
Yeah.
So maybe there is no running
So
or
here's a
hiding.
question for here's a question. So so it comes for those who don't get new clothes. A lot of times it was mentioned socks, but what if you got a new hat for Christmas? Would that count out as clothing and the Yule Cat wouldn't eat you?
What if you what for Christmas?
Got a new hat. Like something you put on your head, like a beanie or just a baseball cap.
I mean, technically, that's an article of clothing, so I would say you're pretty
Yeah.
safe.
So what if you got sexy lingerie? Would that count?
I mean, it does technically count as clothing, so there may not be much of it, but it is something.
Because I don't know if that actually keeps you warm though. So like, are we talking exclusively stuff that keeps you warm or just new clothes?
I mean,
It may be implied to keep you warm, but I don't think it's ever outright said. So you probably could get a loophole
I mean,
around it.
it'll it'll make someone warm, I guess.
Damn it, Andrew.
Like, hello, I got you guys some assless chaps. I guess you're safe from the Yule Cat.
I mean, I guess you'd be warmer than you would be if you weren't wearing it, right? I mean,
Although you'd probably be pretty warm in the inside of a cat.
That's true. You would be warm inside of a cat's stomach. You wouldn't be
yeah,
alive, but you'd be warm.
That's
yeah, that's fair.
But like, okay, so what if I wanted to be eaten by the Yule Cat? Like, what if I thought that was just the best way to go?
I
Um,
would say reject clothing, but I think it's the fact that you were given it would still count.
What if I was morally a nudist? Would I still be eaten if I made my entire family, or would my children still be eaten if I made everybody be nudist?
I don't think there was many nudists in Iceland. If we have any Icelandic listeners, feel free to correct me. But
yeah, I don't know on that one. That's
It's just like
probably.
I want to know if I'm being punished for teaching my children my nudist ways.
I
I
have no
mean,
idea. That is a. I don't think they considered that. I don't think that was a concept when the story of this thing was written.
that's true. That seems like a very modern idea.
But that could be the reason why there's no nudists in Iceland, though, is because the Yule Cat ate all of them.
Right. And it's just like there is completely making this up because I don't know anything about Icelandic culture.
No, I don't
But
either.
yeah,
I
but
know.
like
I know next to
Iceland was
nothing.
actually obviously a very nudist friendly country at one point, and then the Yule Cat started coming around, and now it's outlawed to be a nudist. That's my theory.
Yeah, I mean that's now the Night Scholar's canonical history of Iceland. So yeah,
Indeed. Iceland,
Unless
you
we
have
have,
really good beers. I love you.
uh,
you've been.
again, if there's any Icelandic listeners out there, or feel free to correct us on all your traditions, or just laugh at our ignorance. Either is perfectly fine with us.
Well, don't worry, guys. At least on Spotify, our audience is 100% American.
I
For
will find an
now.
Icelandic person.
Look, you're insulting all of the Icelandic people who are going to flock to this because, unlike me and you, Andrew, they actually know about the Yule Cat because this is actually a pretty important part of their uh, culture, I think.
It
yeah,
is, from what I can tell, it is very important. Yule
Yeah.
Cat,
I
the
mean,
Yule Lad.
considering like how many millions of dollars did they end up spending on like a Yule Cat like light up statue?
That I didn't see. That's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people are really like the Socialist Party over there is like very angry about this because the entire point of the story is actually donating to people who have less than. So like you could have used that money to actually buy clothing for people who needed it.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but where's the fun in that when you could just buy a statue or commission a statue of a Yule Cat?
indeed. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering. I'm now just like looking it up because I really want to know what this looks like.
You know what else you could spend your money on instead of the statue or clothes?
What?
You can get the Hellboy comic. Um, made by Dark Horse Comics. The winter special this year uh is the Yule Cat. It's called Hellboy
It,
Winter Special, the Yule Cat. It is a
I
one-off
saw
comic.
that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat actually.
Yeah, I like that.
Wow. I didn't know that
Uh,
Andrew worked for Hellboy.
No, I don't. It's just instead of buying clothes, I guess you could just buy the Hellboy comic, which I totally knew they still made Hellboy comics.
but you can turn the comics into clothes.
Yeah, you could. You can make it the lingerie
Because
Ashton was talking about out of comics.
that would be some very special lingerie.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Uh,
I'm sure somebody would like it. Don't know
I'm
who,
sure it
but
already exists.
yeah, there's somebody out there.
You put it out into the world, therefore it now exists. That's how that works.
Indeed.
There's probably Yule Cat lingerie too. Because somebody's gonna find that sexy.
I mean, it's just a big black cat, so I mean,
So it basically already exists. Like anything that was Black Cat is obviously a reference to the Yule Cat.
yeah. Like, I'm sure
Fair
you've
enough.
seen the outfits that had like those puffy shorts and a little cat head cut into the shirt chest piece, and that comes with, like the paws.
Yeah. Although I guess I've also seen that it wasn't necessarily a black cat. Like it also could be like a Norwegian forest cat, I think is the name of the cat breed,
Yes,
which is kind of
that's a
like more of like a grayish, really pretty cats actually.
Yeah.
this episode got more weird than I expected it to. And that is one of the fun things about listening to the Night Scholars is you never know where we're going to go in our discussions.
Indeed. I am very excited. So technically the Yule Cat does not operate alone, or I guess it does, but Sean,
Sort
you
of.
said that you knew like a little bit about like I think it's the 12 lads and the trolls that own, or the ogres, sorry, the ogres that are the parents of the Yule Cat.
It's an entire family that sort of kind of domesticated it. Like they have, they're friends with it, sort of. They're called the Yule Lads. It's a pair of trolls, and they have 13 children.
Oh, I have on here that they are ogres.
Trolls, ogres, not much of a difference.
I bet Grilla and the other person who I can't pronounce the name of, Leppalu, very weird DI. I am so
Ilipadio?
sorry for
Lepalui.
Icelandic listeners. I am so sorry. I am so bad at
Lepalui.
this.
Oh, I. That's a horrible pronunciation.
Okay.
But
Um, It also says that Grilla died in this article. I don't. This is like from
This one,
one of Icelandic's like websites.
Rila, the
Iceland,
mother and the murderer. Oh, that could be an interesting episode. That could be an interesting future episode.
indeed. It says that Grilla herself died of starvation, so that could be why the cat's trying to just protect the families. Maybe, like maybe he's actually trying to save children from the fate of uh dying from starvation.
Yeah, or freezing to death. I mean, both are pretty awful ways to go.
Right. Like at least if you're being eaten, like yeah, it will be awful like in the moment, but like it will be over with soon.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially if he like just starts with like the head, like just like gets rid of like one of like the more essential organs first, because you can only live for so long without your head attached. Like I think it's like 5 seconds.
yeah.
7, I think. Either way, not long.
Yeah. I just remember like that French scientists experimented with that like through the guillotine with how many times they could blink afterwards. Good times. The French were so barbaric back in the day.
What do you mean back in the day? Again, apologies to any of our French listeners.
I mean, they have a better quality of life than we do. They're doing something right, I think. I wish we did that in America to show up to a politician's house with a fucking guillotine. Like that's fucking metal as hell, man.
They tried that back in 2020. Remember, there was guillotines outside the White House.
Oh
I don't
No,
remember
yeah.
that.
no, that was oh wait, that was at the Capitol. So
Yeah, 2020 was a fever dream for everybody, I think.
Yeah, pretty much everything from like 2018 till now has just kind of been one big blur, to be honest.
Like if they could just set back the simulation, like that would be great.
Yeah.
If that's fine. It's almost 2024 and it's going to be the best year yet. New year, new me. Right, guys?
you've been saying that for the last 13 years.
I've been saying that for the last 80.
No. No, I mean
And on that note,
I don't know what the whole new year, new me thing. That's
Oh, is that not something that you go by? Like, are you just perfect?
I'm just a guy, you know.
Oh,
I'm
that's fair. I'm sorry. I forgot that you weren't
I'm just
a squonk.
how dare you? uh, I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind
fantastic.
of I'm the same person I've always been. I change when I change. It don't really matter what type of year it is, I guess.
Dang. That must have been a very confusing childhood.
And I guess I mean I was 6 foot tall in the 8th grade, and I wore size 14 shoes in the 8th grade.
Oh my god.
When I was in 5th grade, I wore a size 10 men's shoe, and I was like five. What was that 5'6", 5'7" in the 5th grade?
Yeah. Meanwhile, when I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, um, the fifth graders were like, "Hey, I'm almost as tall as you." I'm just like, "Yep, you sure are."
when when I was in high school, I was wearing like a polo and jeans into a class. It might have been like black cargo pants actually. Might not have been jeans. They thought I was the teacher.
Amazing.
It was my senior year of high school. They thought I was the teacher, and I was like, "Nah, I'm a student, dog." You know. Like when I told this lady I was working with, yeah, I'm only 26. She's like, "Oh, I don't believe that." And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, I am. Uh, I chose a hard
Okay.
life, I guess. You know."
Well, Fortunately, this laptop is about to die, and I don't have the charger anywhere. Oh, sounds about right for episode about cats stealing the charger.
I don't I don't think that's something the Yule Cat does.
Right.
I mean, it's a cat. Like, honestly, it does.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah.
I wonder what the cat does when it's not Christmas time, honestly.
Probably just sleeps. I mean, cats sleep a lot, right?
They
That's
do.
true. That is true. I mean, I wonder if it like comes down like 'cause it lives like up in like the mountains, and I don't know if it just hangs out there like all year until Christmas time, then he comes down to torment people because that's one of his favorite things to do, or he hangs out with. Are the 12 Blacks living?
I'm not sure.
Anyways, if he goes and hangs out with his little like mountain people and the ogres, and then comes down to torment the humans.
Man, that sounds like a pretty good life he has going on there.
Honestly, I'm a little jealous. Like, I don't know if I kind of don't think that I agree at all with the whole eating the children thing, but I'm also not cat.
They,
Raised by
so
ogres.
do you think this cat exists?
I'm gonna say the same as I did with Krampus, where I think that it's just a folklore story that is meant to teach people about the morals of charity and to also warn them about the harshness of winter. But I do think that it's a fun tradition, and I'm kind of sad that we only have Santa because
Right.
I wish that I
Right.
knew about the Yule Cat.
I am in agreement with you. Oh, I think that somebody saw a really big cat and saw children disappearing, and just kind of created the story of the Yule Cat. So no, I don't believe the Yule Cat exists, but it is a fun tale.
Uh, I mean, I think it's just a story. I think someone just came up with it. I don't think anybody spotted a big cat or anything. I don't think even went that far. Um,
Mhm.
it is a neat little story though. Again, kind of I guess what's the word? I mean, yeah, it helps teach them about charity, right? Like even in the poem, it says
Hmm.
something about helping those who need it the most, which is something I think is very important, and it's just a good moral lesson to teach youngins.
Indeed. Sean, thank you for introducing us to the Yule Cat. It's been quite enjoyable to research.
It was. It was a fun little story. We will see y'all next week.
We sure will. I'm gonna go find a giant cat and take a nap on top of
That's what I was doing before we started recording.
it.
Sounds like the life. All right. Good night.
Yep. Thank you again, our ghosts and goblins, for listening to the Night Scholars. You all be good to each other. Don't answer the scratching at your window.
Or do.
But most importantly, stay safe out there.
Good night.